Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Tara Institute. So my name is Mark Fernandez, for those of you who don't know me. So I'm a student of Tara Institute. I've been coming to teachings for over 30 years here. As I usually do, I usually explain who my teachers are. So it's His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Kabje Lama Zopa Rinpoche, who's one of the founders of the group of centres of which Tara Institute belongs, and also the resident teacher, the Venerable Geshe Doga. So I've got three very good teachers. So through the process of osmosis, a little bit will seep out through my sort of thick skull, and hopefully you'll get some benefit. So so this is week 4 of 5. So I've got a reasonably long stint. So I've got one more week to go, which is very good. So I've enjoyed giving these talks. And so the first one, I'll recap a few of the things we've covered, not everything. Is anyone brand new here tonight? There's a few? Okay, good. All right, well, I'll just go through a few topics that we have covered that you can think about. So all beings want happiness and don't want suffering. So when we look at this statement, we say it is completely justified to have that desire for happiness and to not want suffering. So it's not like, you want happiness, no, you shouldn't be desiring that. So in Buddhism you say, well, it's completely justified to have that wish for happiness and to avoid suffering. And in Buddhism we also say, and this is different to perhaps some of the other religions, is that you can actually achieve that state of happiness, permanent happiness, and freedom from suffering. So as a human being you have that potential. So it's not only a dream or an aspiration, so it can actually be fulfilled within you. So I had the good fortune to visit my daughter in Brisbane the last few days, and her partner works in one of those, like a Healesville sanctuary, for native animals. Anyway, I was just walking past one of the enclosures, and one of the animals called out, "Hello." So even that animal, it was what would it be, cockatoo? They can do that, can't they? They can, yeah, big cockatoo. Even that animal saw me, who happened to be walking past, and said hello. So there was some form of wanting to engage, which I thought, oh, that's incredible, because I would have just walked past, but the cockatoo said hello, so I said hello back. So anyway, and we can probably see that with the people we encounter, we have relationships with, and our pets. If there's an element of non-harm in the way we treat them, like we don't want to hurt them, we want to help them, we want to make them happy, there'll be that good interaction back, won't there? So that's what we're trying to cultivate. The basis of non-harm is Buddhism, and then from that you're sort of trying to develop this sort of happy mind, and that helps everyone. And anyway, my daughter and her partner have got this big black dog, like really quite, if you like, black, a bit wolf-like, a bit fierce-looking when you first look at it, but completely placid, like, and you go, oh wow. And so that's come from the masters, I think, how they've treated the dog reflects that. So anyway, that's really good. So I'm an outsider, I've come into their house, and then the dog's sort of a bit, but then I'm sort of trying to reflect what my daughter and her partner, how they treat the dog, treat it well. And so the dog sort of sees, oh well, Mark's not going to harm me, he's going to throw the stick, he's going to walk me, he's going to pat me. So the dog actually responds to that. And so humans are the same. If we treat each other well, generally people will treat us well. So so the next point, we've covered this over a few weeks, this is from Geshe Doga, the Venerable Geshe Doga. The peaceful mind is a happy mind. So he's sort of saying, if your mind is relaxed and clear, then happiness results. That's the basis. And conversely, if your mind's agitated and clouded, it's really difficult to sustain any level of happiness, because you've got two things happening. You've got these thoughts, discursive thoughts that are flitting around when we're a bit agitated, and can everyone relate to that? Whether we're meditating or not, we sort of have this, thought bubbles, just up, and then one finishes, another one starts, and one seems to be related to the previous one, but then when you look back here, they're at tangents, they're not going anywhere, but from those thoughts, the disturbing emotions arise. So I've used the example a few weeks ago that my car keys, actually. So again, I'll use it again because it's very good. So car keys, where have I left my car keys? I've lost my car keys. Oh gosh, oh no, where are they? Oh gosh, someone stole my car. And then the mind of grasping comes, you're uncomfortable. Oh, someone's taken my car, so. And generally what it is I've forgotten where the car keys are. It's something like that, but I've built it into something bigger, and it causes that disturbance in my mind. So that's how it works, the bubbles, or the discursive thoughts, and then the afflictive emotion arises, and out of that you have a very tight, uncomfortable feeling that leads to suffering. So what Geshe-Doga is saying is, when the mind's peaceful, the thoughts can come and go, but you're not distracted by them, and you're able to focus on non-harm, and then also cultivating positive states of mind. So although the state of happiness that Geshe-Doga is referring to, the peaceful mind, the happy mind, is a mind that the external factors that we have, all our resources and clothes and money, jobs and relationships, all those things help us. So we're not trying to go down the path of, oh well, let's give everything away and then we'll be happy. So they still play a part. We still need them, but the main determinant of our happiness is our mind, our state of mind. So we can see that when someone's given a gift and it's given genuinely, and if the person's happy with the gift, because someone gave it to them, went to the trouble, then you'll see that there's happiness for the giver and the receiver. Has everyone had that experience, or you've given something or you receive something, and there's sort of a mutual happiness that results? Now the opposite can happen too. The person with good intention has given the gift, and the other person thinks, oh, that wasn't what I wanted, or that's only worth about $10 from the reject shop, or something like that. The analysis, paralysis by analysis. You're trying to. There's a comparison going on, and you're immediately dissatisfied with what the person's given you, even if it was with good intention. So the same gift can lead to two different results depending on your state of mind. So the main determinant of happiness then is the state of mind, and then the main technique that we talk about is meditation to achieve happiness. So to achieve happiness we need meditation, and then there are 3 wisdom tools that we use. So can anyone remember what they are? First one. So the first one's listening. So you're listening or learning. So that's the first one. Where does that one come from? Does that come from the side of the so-called teacher, or the student? The student, yes. So there's a few things there. You've got this, listening, contemplating, and then meditation. So although the teacher may be conveying things, and they might have great wisdom and compassion like Geshe-Doga, a lot of the effort comes from the student. So if the student's not listening, and they say there's a few examples, upturned pot. So if you try and pour liquid over an upturned pot, what happens? Does it go into the pot? No, it sort of just dribbles off the side, so nothing gets in. And the other one's a leaky pot. So what's that one? Something pours in, and then it goes straight out. So it's sort of like the in one ear and out the other. So And the other one I think is a polluted pot. So your mind's a bit antsy or corrupted. So whatever goes in, it's not going to. It won't bring the result that's desired. So there's a few things there around motivation to receive, but anyway, that's for you to look into. But that's the first one, is listening. So you're here, you're listening, which is very good. So the second one is a wisdom tool is thinking about or contemplation. So again, that comes back to the student, not the person conveying it. So if you're happy to, if you've picked something up and you go, oh, and then you think about it, you ruminate on it, it'll have more effect than someone banging on about the same topic over and over again. You know, 'cause anyone can do that. In fact, you can replay something, can't you now, through your phone and everything. You just put on what's the function on your music? Repeat. Yeah, you can just have, but it'll have no effect if you're not prepared to contemplate or think about it. It'll just probably be like the upturned pot. Nothing, it won't have any impact. So you have to be able to think about, to see, well, is that, and the thing is you have to use your critical faculties to go, is that true? Does that make sense? Is it rubbish? Or should I investigate further? And or yes, that makes sense. I think I can go with that, or I can put it to the side for now and come back later. So there's a lot of things happening with that. So that's very important. So those are the two things you have to do: listen and contemplate before the meditation. So you think, oh, well, couldn't you just do the meditation? But it doesn't work, unfortunately. It's sort of, you have to do this in that order. And it doesn't mean, oh, well, I have to master listening before I can meditate, or I have to master contemplation before I can meditate. You need to do some work yourself. So we'll do some meditation, I think. So for those who haven't been here before, so the main thing is to, whether you're sitting in a chair or on a cushion, is to keep your back straight. So some of you have got the pose already really good. So in our tradition, the left hand's on the bottom and the right hand's on top, and it's in your lap, and your thumbs are touching, pointing back towards your navel, and the point that it's touching it's about a couple of finger widths below your navel point. So it's like that, and then your mouth's closed, your tongue's on the roof of your palate, and you're going to be breathing through your nose gently back and forward. And so the main focus of our meditation will be the focus on the breath, the sensation of the breath as it goes in and out through the nostrils. But firstly, we'll centre our mind centre ourselves within. So to do this, we can visualise that as we're breathing in, enlightened energy, and that can be in the form of just energy or lights or nectar coming in, and as we're breathing out, all our troubles and worries and concerns are being let go or sent away. So let's do that for a few moments. So then switch your focus on the sensation of the breath as it goes in and out through your nostrils. And just for a short period, we'll just try and keep your focus on that, on the sensation of the breath as it goes in and out. And if your mind wanders, just bring it back, just gently back onto the breath. So yeah, when you're able, just bring, or when you feel ready, just bring your attention back to the room and open your eyes. So the breathing meditation is it's like a focused meditation. So you're bringing your attention to one point. You're not doing too much analysis. So it's very good for developing concentration, which is very handy, isn't it? So if you can concentrate when you're meditating, you can concentrate outside of meditation. And so that means whatever task you do, you'll be more focused and better at it. Because some people, and I'm the same, they start something and then their mind jumps to something else and they forget the task they were going to do. And then it's, oh, I better rush back in, they remember later, but it's... So it does help outside of just spiritual development. It actually has a lot of advantages if your mind is focused and stable and clear. So, but we're using that technique though to just highlight the nature of the mind and what it can do. So one of the advantages of breathing meditation is that it's a good technique to subdue the mind of anger in the moment when you're either experiencing or receiving you're either the person being angry or you're the object of anger for someone else. So breathing, because we're still doing it while we're experiencing that state, we can utilize that to actually temporarily subdue the mind of anger. So I call this like cognitive space. So that's what meditation does. When you're meditating, you're focusing on the breath, and then out of meditation you get this element of that time's a little bit stretched. So it gives you like a microsecond or a few seconds to not respond with anger, to act with patience, to act with love and compassion. So it gives you, if you like, a technique to use that means that you're not going to harm the other person, or if they're trying to harm you through harsh words, etc., you're not going to respond back with anger and say something you'll regret or do an action that you'll regret. So it's very useful. And if you, Geshe Doga's mentioned this, that for people who don't have any technique and they get angry, the only thing they can do is watch the outcome of the anger, the harmful action. They can, because they have no means of, it's like a runaway train. They have no means of stopping it. So if it's saying, oh, you hit that person and you kill them, if they go with it all the way, they'll do that. They've got no means of stopping it or sidetracking the mind, or that. So that's not a very good situation to be in, is it? Because you think, well, because we often have these, because particularly with anger, it comes up very quickly and it's very concentrated, so it can actually make us do something that in hindsight we go, oh, I would never have done that normally, but the anger overtook me and I was almost forced to act in a harmful way. So for those people who don't have any technique, that's what Geshe Doga says. He says, well, they can't do anything. They just have to see it through, whatever the result, which can be terrible. Has anyone read anything in the news? Sorry, you got a question? Sorry. Yes, you see the police doing that all the time. They use different techniques, not just with the baton. but I know. So for example, police are a good example. They're trained. They used to be trained to, if they saw someone who was a little bit unstable and was acting, a bit incoherently, they'd go in and say, "We're the police, and you stop, or we're going to put you in the wagon and take you back to the." But now they're taught to assess and try and subdue the person by talking them down. So if they're agitated, I'll try and calm them down. Oh, hi, how are you? What's your name? Where are you from? And what's happening? And so they're using techniques to subdue the situation. So another person can talk an angry person down, but it's quite, it's good for us to have those techniques, because then we can, a lady a few weeks ago was talking about making tea or cooking, making something for her husband, and it's not being submissive, it's more, oh, how are you, how was your day, here's something to eat, here's something to drink, and the person might have come home angry and a bit agitated with the day, but then by the time they've engaged with their partner, it's sort of like it's not that important, it loses its sting, because anger is very quick. It can also be dissipated quickly. So that was I thought it was an excellent example that lady gave of just how another person can impact you. From our side though, we're trying to flip it back on us just for now, but we'll see that as I mentioned with the pet or the interaction, if you're not harming the other person, are they going to be unhappy generally? Or pet is going to be generally more happy to be around you, and that's one of the advantages of patience. People are drawn to you like a magnet because you're calm and patient. So that's one of the great advantages of developing that mind of patience. So there are other techniques other than, there's the breath. Breath's a good one because that gives you immediate relief, particularly if you feel anger rising in you. If you focus on the breath, because you've distracted yourself from the mind of anger, the sting goes out of it and you focus on the breath, and for those moments you're focusing on the breath, the mind of anger is not dominant and it can dissipate. So that gives you I feel like a very good technique, using the breath out of meditation to help you. The other technique they say is the antidote for anger is love, developing the mind of love, which is the wish for the other being to have happiness. And we talked about this at the beginning. May all beings have happiness and no suffering. So you active. So when you're in the moment of anger, that's a very hard mind to cultivate because you're so steamed up. But you can do it in meditation, and again, it gives you that more open, loving mind, so that when you meet the person who normally riles you, gets you angry, you might find that the anger doesn't come up as strongly, it doesn't come up at all, because you have that mind of love. The other technique which we've spoken about is being like a piece of wood, and so this is like you're frozen, but you're not frozen that you can't respond, or you're like you're like an iceberg and there's nothing, but the only thing, you're a piece of wood, you're inert in that anger at that point can't rile you up. So that's another technique. So you can do that. And then the last one is looking at the nature of anger and the person who's angry at you and yourself and the action, and just seeing whether you can find an essence. So that's very, if you like, quite complicated. So I won't go into that one too much, but that's another technique to counteract the mind of anger. So there's a myriad of them, but there's a few that we can do now and develop. So so this week I said we'd talk about the law of karma, or cause effect, which I briefly mentioned last week. So with the unfortunate and tragic bombings in the church in Sri Lanka, was it one church? It was several, okay, and it was over 100 people killed, so it's terrible. Sorry? 290, so it's terrible, tragic. So we can look at that as a tragedy and terrible, which it is. There's no two ways about it. But if we're trying to understand the law of cause and effect, we have to look at it that way as well and develop compassion and love for those people who've died, etc. But also trying to look at the cause as well and the result. So I'll go through the law of cause and effect, and this is what the Buddha taught. So, and it's important to think about these critically. Again, this is where your contemplation comes in. So you don't just accept what's being said. You have to actually go, does that make sense, or is it rubbish, or can I put it to the side, or I've got a question about that. It doesn't make sense at all. So you have to use that, your critical intelligence. It's very important. So the law of cause and effect, or karma. So a positive action will lead to a positive result, and a negative action will lead to a negative result. So in Buddhism, the law of cause and effect goes hand in hand with the idea of the concept of rebirth, past lives and future lives. So they go together. So if you're just saying, the law of karma, if you don't have the idea of a future result, or present cause, future result, then it doesn't quite work. So they're intertwined concepts. So there are 4 factors in a completed karmic action. And I'll give some examples. But the first one is for an action is the intention. So intention, and I use this example. I've got $10, and there's someone who needs $10. So I've got an intention to give. I've got an object I'm going to give it to, and then I've got the action of giving, and then the completion of the act. So the person taking the $10. So that's a complete karmic action, the giving of the $10. If any of those 4 parts are missing, then that action is a little bit weaker. I intended to give that person $10. I had the $10 ready, and then they left. So can everyone see that? That there's still the very good mind there wanting to give, but the action couldn't be completed. So there's still some, if you like, it's still a good action, but not a complete one in that respect. So if I gave the $10, and then I use this example, so I think some people will know the answer, and then the next day someone gave me $10, is that the ripening of the previous action? I gave the $10, and then a day later someone gave me $10. So what do people think? Mm-hmm. That's right. So for us, it's a very good answer, because for us it's very hard to determine that was the cause of that result. And they say you need to be the enlightened mind of a Buddha to be able to work out, Mark, he gave the $10, and the next day the $10 appeared back. So generally we say, well, we'll pick these concepts up and we'll try and understand them, but we're limited. However, generally we say, because we're talking about across lifetimes, the $10 I gave is the creation of a complete karmic action of giving, And the result of someone giving me $10 the next day is the ripening result of an action of generosity from the past, either previous life or this life, but a different set of a different action, and that the gentleman's point. So it's quite difficult to get empirical evidence that this one led to that one. It's quite hard, but we have to do our best. So that's the important thing there. However, and this goes to whether we can make any progress in our endeavours to achieve happiness, we can create enough virtue to achieve the lasting state of happiness within this lifetime. So you can start at the beginning of your life or whenever, and then create lots of virtue, purify afflicted emotions, and at the end, sometime during your life you can achieve the complete state, enlightened state of Buddhahood. So within a lifetime. So it's not like, oh well, it has to be long and drawn out. It could be eons away. And so, and Geshe Dogyu's example, lots of faith and study, listening, contemplation, meditation, resulting in the mind of happiness day and night. So that's his take on the efforts you put in earlier can ripen into a good existence for you, because you're happy day and night. So that seems to me like a good place to be, huh? I think it'd be fabulous personally. I just think, day and night, because even Geshe Dogyu's mentioned, he had the mind of anger. He remembers it when he was a teenager. He's now 83, 84. So he's remembering, that long ago when a moment of anger came. So it's a past thing now, rather than, I got angry. He got angry yesterday. He's not saying that. It's just sort of like he says he's happy day and night, and he says that, I'm happy teaching. He's happy during the day. He's happy sleeping. So he has that complete subdued, happy mind. So he's quite fortunate. But he said that he actually pointed to how he's done that. He said lots of faith, study and listening, and contemplation and meditation. So they're the techniques we're trying to pick up here. So with karma, there are 4 aspects to karma. So as well as the 4 things to complete the act, there are four aspects to it that karma increases. So the $10 completed act, it could expand in terms of its ripened result exponentially. So we think, it'll definitely come back as $10, or maybe with a bit of interest. $10 and $5, it comes something comparable, but it can increase. Karma's definite, so that means that it will definitely ripen. So the action of giving will definitely ripen at some stage. That karma cannot be destroyed. Does everyone agree with that one, or does that sound reasonable? Yeah. There is well, if that's the case, if you've committed a negative action, what are you going to do? What can you do? Yes. Yeah. So there is always that. So there's a mitigation, even though that karma, it's definite, and it can't be destroyed. It can be affected by your, as the lady said, by your other actions. Okay, so if we've got a lot of negative karma, and a lot of negative things we've done, there is a way to actually mitigate them, or subdue them, or destroy them, or change the course. And the fourth one, this is the fourth aspect of karma, is you're not able to experience what one has not created. So what does that mean? Does everyone know what that one means? So if I give the $10, can any of you experience the result of that action? No. So not directly. So there is a way, because they say that one of the easiest ways to practice is to rejoice in other beings' good actions. So if I've done a good thing for a change and gone $10, and someone's gone, oh well, Mark gave $10, I'm really happy for Mark for doing that, and then you're vicariously gaining a lot of merit without actually having to do the giving. By rejoicing, you're able to get some virtue or result. That's one of the few. But what they say is, so it's sort of like Mark's given $10. I haven't given anything. I won't experience the result of that $10 of giving that Mark did. So that's the point that's being made there. So where is the karma stored? I asked this question a few weeks ago to see if anyone can remember. Is it here? Sorry? The continuum? The mind, yeah. So the mind, mental continuum, so consciousness. So it's nothing physical. We can go, oh, there it is. But it's there. So it's... And that's, His Holiness actually makes the point, is what you write in ink on paper can be washed away with a drop of rain, but what's written on your mind is there forever. So it's very poetic, but it's true. So that's his way of putting it. So having looked at the mind of anger, if I complete a complete action of anger, so I have the intention, I'm going to yell at someone, and I have the object, so there's the someone there, and then I have the action, I'm going to hit them, and then I have the completion of the action, I actually go through with all that and harm them. So there's sort of, will the result be positive or negative? Negative. Okay. Anyone say positive? Maybe for them. Oh, yeah. So that's quite a tricky one, isn't it? Looking at the receiver of your harmful act, it could be positive for them, but we're generally looking at from our side. If we're committing the act, is it from our side? Is it going to be positive result for us later or not? So you're saying no? Yes. But you make a very good point. It could be that ripening of that, your harm could be, if you don't respond back, you're cutting the connection, huh? So that's if you're looking at karma, there's that too. So you go, oh well, he yelled at me, he hit me, I'm going to think about it and then I'll respond back. And I didn't hit him back, I didn't harm him back. There's that little thing of space, and if I don't harm him, I've sort of cut the connection with anger and that person. So, and when we look at that tragic event that occurred was it in Colombo? So when we look at it from a life karmic perspective, we go, all right, those beings died terrible. Did they in the past create some form of harm to the beings that killed them, and the ripening result was they're killed? So that's trying to look into karma. Is there a cause that's led to that result? Now it's very hard, as that gentleman was saying, to look into the intricacies of it, but there have been actual people who can remember their past lives, and so we rely on the Buddha's teachings to say, well, this action will lead to this result. And they were in the South, in America, and one was slaves and one were the masters, and they'd remembered who they were, and in one life they were the slave being harmed, and in the next life they were the master doing the harming, and then it flipped, it kept on. So they were able to remember. And if you look at that example, you can see, well, the karmic result of me harming you is that I'm going to be harmed back. So it's quite hard though, isn't it? I think. But that's the way it's explained. So positive action will lead to a positive result. A negative action will lead to a negative result. But if you cut the root of it, or cut the action, and don't respond with hate or anger, then you're stopping it for that moment. So, and as you said, that person who's received anger, if they've accepted it and gone, oh, that's it, okay, I'm good with that, that means they're not creating any more. They're not creating a reciprocal harm back. So they've sort of finished it. They've experienced it as it is. Yeah, Lucy?
So is that ending the karma process?
Maybe for the person who said, oh, that's enough, I'm good. For the other person, they could still go on. Depends what they do exactly. They could go, well, that was easy, I'll go back again, or I'll harm someone else. You know, they could make it worse. So, yeah. But if you cotton onto it, you can sort of go, well, I can stop it. So if the actions are negative, they can be purified. So in Buddhism, all those things I've said before, that it's it's definite, it's indestructible, it's this and that, and it's sort of like written on the mind, as His Holiness says, there forever. So then, but if you can utilise the techniques, Buddhist techniques, to purify them. So I'll just go in brief through those, because these are another lengthy topic. So, but just to give you an idea, that and you can draw on, if you're Christian, if you have a Christian background or whatever, you can see there's some similarities in these to those traditions, other traditions as well. So the first one is there's four opponent powers. The first one is, and this is to purify non-virtuous imprints on the mind stream. So the power of the object. So for Buddhists, the power of the object for us are the Buddha, as the sublime supreme teacher, who's has all the qualities and has purified all negativity. So he's achieved the state that we want to achieve. So there's a power of the object. The other one is the actual teachings, the Dharma, and the third one is the Sangha, or the spiritual community. So if we take refuge in any of those, or all those three, it's the power of the object. Very strong, powerful, clear object that has good qualities. And the other one is the power of the aspirational and the engaging mind of bodhicitta. So that can be a powerful object. So, and that mind is, I don't want to have just happiness for myself in future lives. I don't want to achieve just liberation from suffering for myself. And it is, I want to achieve the state of full enlightenment or Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. So that's the mind of bodhicitta. So some people have it effortlessly, that mind, that's the way they think. And I go, oh gosh, that sounds really hard. It's beyond me, but I can still aspire to that mind. So that's important. So even if we think, oh well, of course Geshe Doga is going to talk about the mind of bodhicitta because he has, he lives it and breathes it and he has it. What can I do? Well, I can still aspire to that state of mind, and that's important because we have to, if you like, get on the rung somewhere, and that's, if you aspire first. So it's aspirations like motivation. I'm motivated. I'm aspiring to that state, and then I'm going to do the actual actions that will get me there. So that's a powerful object as well. Next one, and this one, you can see this in all traditions, the power of regret. I did something terrible, I'm really sorry. So I think whether you're religious or not religious, you can relate to that one, because that one's like, I did terribly, so I did something terrible, but I'm really sorry. And the third one's the power of resolve. So what would the power of resolve be? Do you have an idea about what that is? No, it's not action to do. It's more the promise to maybe not engage in that action again. So it's sort of trying to counter the habit. Oh, Mark, I'm so easy to anger. Okay, it was terrible what I did. I'll try not to react like that next time. So there's that promise to turn away from that. And the fourth one, practice to purify negative and non-virtuous imprints or actions is the power of remedy. So it's any particular practice that will act as an antidote to the negativity. Are there any people who are Buddhist in the room? Anyone? I know, Lucy, you are. Okay. What's a remedy? What's a particular remedy we can use for an antidote to negativity? Yes. Yep. They say so. Listening and thinking about the texts, the Dharma teachings are very good remedies, and we have the Vajrasattva mantra. They do that for purification. So there's quite a few remedies that we have in Buddhism, and all four work in concert. So it means you have a complete set of those will enable you to sleep well at night, because nothing is insurmountable, as in, oh gosh, I did that was terrible. And so actually you already have some regret, so that's probably the biggest one, huh? The biggest one is regret. If you don't regret the action, it's probably going to stay there on the mind stream, and you may repeat it. If you have some regret for it, you're already trying to walk away from it. So does anyone have any questions on those? So that there are that's a pretty deep topic, but you can get an idea. So it's not like, oh well, it's written on the mind stream, it's there forever, I'm cooked. So you shouldn't think like that, because it's easy, because that's very deterministic. It's there, I've got no hope, I did these terrible things when I was younger, so they're going to ripen at some stage. So it's not like that. So you have to go, oh, there's some means of mitigating or turning it around. So if I looked at if I didn't purify that act of anger, which led to say me killing someone, which is terrible, huh? A terrible thought, that the anger so consumed me that I decided to kill someone and went through with the action and did it until they were dead. So that has the completed action. So there's a few results. So there's a result similar to the cause, in that I'll have the habit to kill again. to wish to kill again. So we've probably got a few people locked up in jail, huh, that have developed that habit. So serial killers, you know, they do it once and then they get that lust for it and they go, oh yeah, that was so easy. So in terms of habit, they have that. The other one is a result similar to the cause is their experience. So in terms of experience, one's life will be threatened by sickness or by others. So that's a future, if you like, a future result. So we're not necessarily talking about Mark killed someone and the next day I get sick. It might not work like that, but in terms of a result similar to a cause, I might experience that I become sick or I'm threatened by others. So the result of fruition, so the rebirth that I take, if I have actually gone through that complete action of killing, will either be a hell realm rebirth or a shorter life. So that's pretty heavy, isn't it? So you're going, well, I've got a good human life now, but because I've killed someone, then the result could be that I'm born in this terrible suffering hell realm where it's, I think it's 24/7 suffering. The only thing that varies is whether there's a respite or not, and the degree of suffering. So in fact the degree of suffering you might think, oh, that's fabulous, I'm only being stabbed by 100 beings and not 1,000. You know, there's something like that. It's still endless suffering. So that's one of the result of fruition. And then the third aspect here is with killing through anger is the result of the environment. So the environment is hell or poor conditions. So in fact you can see that with human beings, huh? They've got a good human rebirth, you know, good faculties and everything, but the conditions they live in are terrible. They're just not conducive to a happy life because there's constant suffering just with the conditions they encounter. So not very good. Has anyone got any questions? Because this is all very heavy duty stuff just on one act, you know, anger and killing. So anyone? Sure. A being that dictates what's positive and negative. Well, yeah, the Buddha is the being that we look to decide, well, is that action positive or negative, or virtuous or non-virtuous? Will it lead to a virtuous result or a non-virtuous result? And that the gentleman's point there before about it's very hard to empirically work out the cause and the effect, etc. So we rely on the teachings and the teacher to go, oh well, this action will lead to a negative result. But as we get sharper and clearer, the wish or the hope is that we can work that out too. We use the teachings to help us, but we can work out, oh well, if I actually, and I'll move away from killing, but I'll say, I'll use the example of this is taking stationery from the work environment. So is that stealing? Yes. So by the definition, is stealing sort of taking what hasn't been freely offered to you. And if you think, oh well, the boss won't notice it, it's just a couple of pens and a pad and, you know, diary or whatever. But when we look at it, no, it's actually stealing. So the Buddha has actually said, well, you know, that action, if you do complete action of stealing, will lead to a negative result. So unless you mitigate it, so there's that flexibility there. You still have, even though it's, you know, you're saying it's written, but there's still means through purification and developing good qualities and regret and so on to actually offset it, which is very good. So it means it's not determined or written in the stars that, well, the result of that action is going to bounce back on me terribly. So, does that answer your question? Yeah. That's right. Yeah, they talk about them, the 10 non-virtues, the 5 vows of a layperson, to not lie, not kill, not steal, not engage in sexual misconduct, not to misuse intoxicants. So you can read about those, because you go, oh, okay, what would that mean? What are they all about? You go, oh, okay, so even the stealing one, you think, the boss won't miss that pen, but it's still taken from them. They didn't offer it to us. If they said, oh, you go grab what you want, that's different. But if they've got no idea, then it's an act of stealing. It might be small, but when we've looked at how karma can ripen, it can be a big result from a small action. So yeah, so we do look at the texts, and they're laid out, but you have to listen. You have to contemplate. You have to read and then think about it yourself to see if it makes sense. So it's very good. So I think we'll finish. So it's we'll do a little bit of meditation, and then we'll dedicate. So I didn't do a motivation at the beginning, but you can pretend that I did. So yeah. Anyway, motivation is setting that safe direction. You're pinpointing your effort to a virtuous end, and the virtuous end that we have is that aspirational and engaging mind of enlightenment, or wishing to achieve enlightenment for the sake of all others. So we can just imagine that was the aspiration we have, and then we'll dedicate. Actually, we'll just do a dedication. So actually, while I'm reading out, you can just meditate on the breath, and I'll just read out the dedication prayer as we're doing it. So this dedication prayer is a dedication, but it also mentions the mind of bodhicitta as well. So it's a very powerful prayer to finish practice with. May I quickly become Guru Lord Buddha and lead each and every sentient being into his enlightened realm because of these merits. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen never diminish but increase more and more.